Alrighty, let's get started. So good evening again, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. For those participants who just are coming over from the ACES presentation, welcome back. Love to have you. My name is Chantel Smith, and I'm the coordinator for recruitment and programming for the Honors College here at the University of Maryland. So tonight, right now, we'll be going over the Integrated Life Sciences, aka ILS Living Learning Program, which will be presented by Dr. Najib El-Sayed and Dr. Sabrina Kramer. Also joining us in the chat area are Dr. Jimmy Lang, the Associate Director of Admissions, and a number of our current ILS students. So this presentation will last about 10 to 15 minutes, but will be available to answer questions throughout the whole time up until about 8 p.m. Please keep your sound muted for the duration of this chat, and also make sure that when you're sending questions, you send it to everyone so that in the chat room so we can see the questions and answers. If we miss answering your question, just please feel free to just ask it again. And keep in mind the presentation will be recorded, so if you do not want to be on camera, please turn your cameras off at this time. We'll provide our contact information at the end in case you have additional questions later. And without further ado, here's ILS to talk about the program.
Thank you, Chantel, and good evening and welcome to the ILS online chat, everyone. And I am Najib El-Sayed. I'm the director of ILS and professor of cell biology and molecular genetics here at the University of Maryland. I've been on board for about 6 months now, and I'm committed to leading the ILS program into the future through ongoing improvement of our curriculum and structure and continuous evaluation of our program's goals and vision. So today we would like to introduce you to a very special living learning community, which is designed actually to ease the transition of students into University of Maryland and prepare students to future success wherever their aspirations lie in the life sciences. Dr. Sabrina Kramer, Associate Director of ILS, is here this evening and will be introducing herself in a moment. I'm also thrilled to be joined by a panel of 5 brilliant ILS students in their senior year who have agreed to answer your questions and share their experiences in ILS. In fact, they will be the star of the show and they'll be answering most of your questions towards the end. So without further ado, I'll let everybody introduce themselves, and Zoom has locked me out of the control of my screen. Let me try here.
Well, Najib is getting this.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, there we go. I was going to jump in and introduce myself. So hello, everyone. I am Sabrina. I am the Associate Director for the Integrated Life Sciences Program. The picture that you see up on the screen was from our trip in the before times, so January before last, where we took our study abroad trip to London. So we teach that every 2 or 3 years. It's a science history course. So I'm in charge of the internship program, the undergraduate TA program, and I also teach cell biology, and I'm a virologist by training. And I will hand it over to Zaria.
Hey everyone, my name is Zaria and I'm a senior at UMD, so this is my last semester. I'm a double major in physiology and neurobiology and psychology, and I'm planning to apply to med school in this upcoming cycle. And my favorite thing about ILS, as I've written here, is just having an automatic connection with people on campus. You'll make a lot of your closest friends in college, in ILS or in whatever living and learning program that you're in. And I'm going to pass it off to Sydney, who was my first friend at UMD. So go ahead, Sydney.
Thanks, Zaria. And yeah, we're actually roommates in La Plata, which is where you will live if you choose to come to ILS. So it's a great program. We really bonded. So yes, as Zaria said, my name is Sydney Sharp. I'm a senior. I'm a physiology and neurobiology and African American studies double major. And I'm planning on attending medical school this fall. And my favorite thing about ILS is also the vibrant community you get. And I've even found that I really connect with other ILSers who are not in my cohort as well, just because we bond over being in ILS together and having those sort of same motivating factors guiding us throughout college.
Thank you, Sydney. Ashley?
Hi, my name's Ashley. I'm a senior animal science major and I'm minoring in general business. I will be attending the Virginia Maryland Regional College of Veterinary Medicine this fall. One of my favorite things about ILS is just the amazing opportunities that it provided me with. Also, there's many lasting professional connections that you can form, and as my peers have already said, lifelong friendships.
Josh.
Hi everybody, I'm Josh. I'm also a senior. I'm a general biology and criminology and criminal justice double major. I'm to pursue grad school to get my PhD in neuroscience. My favorite part of being an ILS has definitely just been connecting with students and faculty. I've TA'd for the first year genetics class the last few years, and I found it's a great way to connect with people outside of my cohort as well as get to know faculty a lot better. And I found it also makes me feel a lot more confident in the material.
Thank you, Josh. David?
Hi, everyone. I'm David. I'm also a senior. I'm also studying biology with a concentration in physiology and neurobiology, as well as biochemistry, and I'm currently applying to med school, planning to attend in the fall. And as everyone said, ILS is great, and my favorite part is definitely the academic and social opportunities that have shaped me who I am and have really allowed me to successfully pursue my career goals.
Thank you all. And you'll all have an opportunity to interact with our panel extensively in a short moment. I'd like to tell you a little bit about the Honors College, which you may already know is home to UMD's highly acclaimed living learning programs for students with exceptional academic talents like you. Living learning programs here on campus range from 2 years, like the multidisciplinary University Honors Program, to the more focused programs like ILS or the Integrated Life Sciences. And the Honors College features primarily small classes that are taught by outstanding faculty, an innovative learning environment, and opportunities for research and study in the Washington, D.C. area. I'll tell you a little bit about ILS and what makes ILS so special. So as I mentioned earlier, it is a living learning environment, which is particularly effective at easing the transition of our new students to university. And it prepares our students for future success in well-respected professional schools, medical schools, or wherever their aspirations and careers take them. How do we achieve this? First, it's an accelerated academic program starting with sophomore level classes. So students who are typically invited to join ILS would have already taken or received full credit for freshman biology sequence, either via biology AP or some other mechanism. ILS courses are also specifically structured to enhance active learning and small group collaborations, which have been shown to facilitate deep learning. ILS facilitates research opportunities on the UMD campus and in neighboring institutions, such as federal institutions and local schools of medicine. Rigorous scientific inquiry and the development of cutting-edge research skills are also a central goal of ILS's missions. So we will guide our students through an authentic research experience that will be relevant to their career goal. Even if some of our students do not pursue research as a major component of their future career, learning how to engage in scientific research or scientific reasoning, if you will allow them to incorporate research findings into their professional practice and make better decisions even in their professional lives. Service is a very important component in ILS. All ILS students dedicate a portion of their time and talent to serving a local community partner as first-year students. Typically, the partner and the service project is self-selected, and we like the service component because it provides a holistic perspective to the rigorous coursework that the ILS students are typically taking. It encourages students to learn from people whose backgrounds are different from their own and encourages inclusive relationship building. I'd like to focus my last point on the community, and you've heard it from the ILS students on this panel today. The development of an inclusive community focused both on living and learning together is the central mission and the most valued aspect of the ILS experience. And you've heard it from the 5 panelists, and you'll hear it more. This inclusive community is designed to help the students with their sometimes rocky transitions to the university. It provides them with a safety net. It increases their engagement and helps them build a launching pad from which they can explore the many opportunities available on campus. So I'd really like to emphasize that we are very purposeful in our effort to encourage students to work together in order to better facilitate their learning and success at the university. And the actual results speak for themselves. Here are some numbers relating to ILS students. Perhaps I'll start at the bottom and tell you that we have a very high success rate for students applying to professional schools. Many of our students have won academic excellence awards, including the Rose, Marshall, Goldwater, Churchill fellowships. And on top, you can see a breakdown of what our ILS students major in. 60% are in the biological sciences, about 20% are bioengineering, chemical engineering students, about 10% biochem or chemistry, and the remaining 10% in other majors. And typically the professional goals of an ILS class has been about 50% of students wanting to go to medical school, 5% wanting to do an MD, PhD or MSTP program, about 15% wanting to pursue graduate school or PhD, 14% go straight to the workforce for a while, and about 12% will choose professional degrees such as social service, social studies, masters in public health, etc. Dr. Kramer will tell you a little more about the various academic components and service and research components of the program. Dr. Kramer?
Yeah, thank you, Najib. So I'm also in charge of the curriculum. So we have set this up based on the many things we understand about students in their first year. So you'll be taking courses. So you've got an introduction to the university, which is our HLSC 100 class, and then 102 is the service learning course. And then our Principles of Biology 3. So that's integrated organismal biology. So it's the 3rd semester course in the biology sequence. And that'll be your first semester. And so 100 and 207 is your first semester, and 102 and 322 is your second semester. We have found that it is a good idea to essentially tell you guys what you're taking all together your first semester, and then we give you a little bit more choice your second year. So second year, you have a choice of different courses to fulfill your ILS requirements, including my cell biology course. So there's honors professional writing, there's a public health course, so Poor in America, health and well-being, bioethics, bioinformatics, and we also have our study abroad course, our British Masters of Science course. And we've got some great faculty and staff instructors. So Dr. Pick is the chair of the entomology department. She's currently teaching genetics that Josh is an undergraduate TA for. I'm awesome. But I teach a cell biology course that David was a TA for last semester. Sabrina Ansel is our assistant director and runs the HLSC 100 and 102. Karen Carlton will be teaching 207 for us in the fall, and she's a distinguished biology full professor, I believe. And Najib has been teaching our bioinformatics course. So just to kind of give you some ideas of the courses in our program. Next slide. Thanks. So the question for you might be, what do we do? How do you prepare for this? So because we start students off in our 3rd semester course, this is part of the advanced curriculum, you need to have your first 2 semesters of biology essentially waived or transferred in. So this can happen through several different mechanisms. So that can be AP Bio, IB Bio. So if you're doing International Baccalaureate, some students work within a system where you've taken the courses either regular or dual enrollment through community colleges. There's a variety of different ways, but we need to be able to start you into the 3rd semester course. So just kind of keep that in mind. So those are some different ways. In your preferencing form, we will specifically ask for that information, so it helps us choose. If, for instance, you're taking AP Bio your senior year, just let us know that and let us know your other APs. We've gotten really good at being able to predict how well people are going to do based on your other experiences. And if not, you have the chance to transfer into ILS after your second semester. So you would apply to transfer in after one semester, and then you would start in ILS the start of your sophomore year, the fall of your sophomore year. So if things don't work out for AP Bio, you can still join us during your sophomore year. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. Okay, next slide. So internships are a required part of the curriculum, but don't worry, we help you through that whole process. So we will talk to you about, and by we, I mean I will talk to you about how to write a resume, how to talk to faculty members. We keep a database of internships in the area, as well as a database of different ILS students, upperclassmen who have completed internships, their contact information, so it's kind of like networking on training wheels, who've already pre-agreed to talk to you guys. And we get to cheat a little bit because we're in the DC region, so we have the availability of a wide variety of different internship opportunities, everything from the USDA to the University of Maryland School of Medicine. We've had students intern with the Smithsonian, NIH, Children's National Hospital, Johns Hopkins, Walter Reed, FDA, NIST. So there's a variety of different opportunities, and we get a little spoiled because we're in this region and we have all of them kind of in the same place. So, but do not worry, we will help you through that process, as well as, helping you figure out what's going to work best for you. And you can complete your internship in a variety of different ways in different semesters or during the summer, and we will talk to you more about that after you get to campus. Next slide. Thanks. So service learning is also a requirement. So this is actually facilitated through your HLSC 100 and 102 course. You actually get credit for it. So this is, as we like to say, this is a feature, not a bug. It is actually, our students came to us after the first year of the program and said, we need something more. We want service learning. And so we incorporated it into the curriculum. And then over the last year or two, students came back and told us we wanted to expand the service opportunities. So we expanded from 12 to 25 credits and from one class to 2. And the idea behind it is we want students to be able to find partners that they feel comfortable working with and that they're very excited to work with. It's the idea that you might be able to extend that beyond ILS. So we've had a variety of different things that students have done. So everything from tutoring to working with our food pantries, alternate break trips. So these are through our STAMP Student Union, the AB program, where you would spend one of your breaks, so winter break, summer break, spring break, working with different organizations, specifically service organizations. ILS sponsors a particular AB trip during spring break, which is our Trips Helping Turtles trip. That did not happen last year thanks to COVID. So we are ever hopeful about how things will turn out in our post-COVID land. But in a normal year, we'd be going down to Topsail Island, North Carolina to work with a sea turtle hospital. Our students have also started their own service organizations. So our local chapter of the Public Health Without Borders, Global Dental Brigades, TERPs for Service Members, Rising Researchers, which is a group focused on educating high school students about careers and how to get into research. So there's been a variety of different service organizations that our students have started and been a huge part of their lives. Okay, next. All right. So this is getting to the end of the formal information part of this. And we know that based on past experiences that you guys want to be able to ask questions and talk with us. So essentially a little less than half of, actually quite a bit of time, so that you can ask your questions of us. So first, if you have questions after this, please feel free to email us at ils-honors@umd.edu and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. But for the rest of this time, we want to open it up to you. So Dr. El Said and myself are here to answer everything from internship to curriculum questions. Chantal and Jenny are here to help with university or honors-wide questions, administrative questions, questions about preferencing forms, where to click in different buttons, which I will freely admit I don't know because I've never seen the student interface. And then our wonderful ILS students you've already met are here to also answer your questions. So I would love to be able to talk, to have a conversation. I know not everyone's comfortable putting themselves on camera, so they're going to be moderating both. But if you're able and comfortable, we would love to actually chat with you if you don't mind turning on your mic and your camera, because we would like this to be a conversation and to answer all your questions. So with that, I'm going to step back and let our wonderful student panel take over, and we are happy to answer all of your questions.
Thank you, Sabrina. I'm going to stop sharing the screen so that you can actually see our panel.
Okay, there was a lot of questions in the chat while I was talking. I'm going to try to work on getting caught up with those.
Dr. Kramer, I think one question which we would want your clarification on is for those who are taking AP biology right now, when should they report their AP scores? And are they still able to apply to ILS even without an AP score currently?
Yes, so the answer is yes. Many of you take your AP bio course in your senior year. We totally understand that. So what we need you to do for your preferencing form is to let us know you plan on taking the AP bio test. Let us know what your other key scores are if you have them, and then take your AP bio test in May, right? That's when the test is up this year. And then if you're accepted into ILS, we will then send out information to remind you to submit your scores to UMD. So just a side note, they don't automatically get sent to their school of choice. You have to go to the AP board, the college board, and actually tell them to send your scores to a particular school, and then they can be evaluated for transfer credit. And I saw something else come up about community college transfer. We actually have no control over how that transfers into our two semester bio courses, which is 160 and 170, BSCI 160 and BSCI 170. But we do have a website where you can look up your community college and see how it transfers in. So University of Maryland has a long-standing agreement with all of our Maryland community colleges and has kind of worked all of this out and how those credits move through the system, because we are all state of Maryland and we all work together. So if you guys want more information, I can type in the website to look that up on your own. Did I cover everything, David?
I think so. And the one thing is honors would not be sufficient, an honors biology class, because you would need to get the AP college credit either through the AP test or an IB test or whatever your school offers. But you would need to come in with, a sophomore level standing in terms of biology.
I do want to clarify that I didn't actually take the AP bio class. I was in a specific magnet program that kind of offered like some sort of courses that were to count for AP bio, where like if you finish those 2 courses or 3, I don't remember, and you sat for the test, you should be fine with getting a 4 or 5. So as long as you have that like AP credit, that's really what you need. Like, so you can't just take the honors class and say that's good enough. Like if you take the honors class, maybe study a little bit more outside of that, get yourself an AP book, and pass the test with a 4 or 5, you should be fine. Like it's really the test score that is needed, not necessarily you having taken the AP bio class.
I think one question that might require verbal answers, I know they're being answered, but someone asked if we could all talk about our favorite ILS class that we took. So I'll quickly go first. And my favorite is Cell Bio with Dr. Kramer. I took it and then TA'd it twice, and that's something that's, I think, pretty unique with ILS, is that the teachers are really open to having past students TA 200, 300 level biology courses. So you really get to know the material well, and you get to know students and the professor. So it's a pretty unique experience.
My favorite ILS course was probably 100, which I ended up being a section leader for this past fall semester. It was just an introduction to the university class that all incoming freshmen have to take, but we have our own ILS section of it. And there's a huge emphasis on, community service and wellness. And that's something that I truly believe in is very important throughout your college career. So having that kind of emphasized as soon as you come into college, it was really important to me. And that's why I also wanted to give back and be a section leader now as a senior.
My favorite class was the first year genetics class. I took it as a first year and I've TA'd it the last 3 years. It's been a blast. I really like just being able to talk to people about genetics, and like as a TA, it's always nice to help like walk people through a concept that was like hard for you when you took it, but that you got help figuring out from TAs and sort of passed that on. That's just my take.
My favorite class, I would have to say, was also Dr. Kramer's cell biology class. I just thought it was very different than the other classes I've taken, and it was really cool seeing everything at such a small microscopic level and learning about it.
I would also say my favorite class was Dr. Kramer's class. You're getting a lot of credit here today. I really liked that the class had a different format. So if I'm remembering correctly, on Mondays we did lectures. On Wednesdays we did practice in class with different questions. And then on Fridays, we were able to do online work and kind of work in groups to solve different problems related to cell bio. And I thought it was very different from just sitting in class and listening to lecture. So I really enjoyed that.
I see a question here. Is this a good LLP for someone that's interested in bioinformatics? So I will answer that one. Sure, why not? And the program will allow you to take all your other biological sciences classes, and then you can take bioinformatics with me or my peers. And the program does also allow you to take electives in other departments, such as CCS or a new major is being created in data sciences. It should be up and running, hopefully by the fall. So you'll have even more choices of classes in data sciences and bioinformatics.
Okay, so I'm going to jump in really quick. And then there was a question about workload that I thought our panelists can answer. But so there's been a few questions about the study abroad course, and I will say that as someone who helped lead that. So that's every 2 or 3 years, depending on how COVID lands. So during the winter term, we have a full winter term at Maryland. In January, you spend 10 days in London, where we are, reading articles. We are going to the locations where the scientists were and talking about it and presenting on it. So the way it works is you apply to a study abroad program. Ours is one of the winter terms, so you'll be applying in the fall. We take somewhere between 10 and 14 students. It is an extra cost, so keep that in mind. But we try really, really hard to keep our program as cheap as possible. So we are one of, I think, the cheapest trips for winter break the last time we ran. So you get college credit for it. It counts for your ILS citation. I got gen ed credit for it. I was very proud of myself for that. And then you'll have some pre-work in the fall semester, work while we're there, and then post-work when you get back. Yeah, and we have a lot of fun. So we'll do activities, we will do academic related things during the daytime, and then usually the evenings, students will be on their own. We will be staying together in hotels, usually 2 beds, 2 students per room. But it is an absolute blast, I have to say. London in the winter is cold and rainy, but I had a lot of fun last time, and I know the bus and the train system so much better now. So just wanted to share that. And then I think for our panelists, and there are so many questions coming in, we are trying to keep on top of them. Someone asked what the workload was like as a student, if anyone would like to address that.
I know for me, my ILS classes were one of like the first like college level harder classes I had to take. And it was like the first time I really had to sort of like learn how to study as a college student, because I like I'm sure like a lot of you sort of skated a little bit through high school. but like it was a great opportunity to sort of like actually have to think about how I'm learning and make sure that like I'm taking the time for myself to make sure that I'm understanding the material. And that's helped me a lot in courses I was taking as a first year, but also well since then.
Yes, I agree. I feel like the courses weren't necessarily like, oh, this much, more work or more strenuous than any other, college level course. They're naturally going to be harder than what you had to do in high school. But one of the biggest things about ILS courses was your entire cohort is in your class with you. So, we got to work a lot in like small groups. And I remember, just having like a set date during the week when we would all work on the homeworks together, and really get that like collaborative team learning. You're learning from your peers, you're learning with them. You're all facing, certain challenges. Oh, I didn't understand that, neither did I. Let's figure it out together. So that was like, a really big plus of having our classes be very specific to us.
One thing I'll add, and I saw multiple questions about cohorts and how those work. So just to clarify, one cohort is 1 year of students. It is roughly 96. I know that's the ideal number from an administrative standpoint. And usually, outside of COVID times, the cohort, the year, would live together in La Plata Hall on the 9th floor, which is the penthouse, or the 8th floor, which is Superior, because that's where I lived. And actually, I think most of us lived on the 8th floor freshman year. So we all study together. Oftentimes we're taking the same courses within the requirements for the Honors College, as well as outside, gen eds and other biology and chemistry courses. In terms of how cohorts interact between each other, there's a lot of social events that are put on so that we get to know each other, but also students who are younger and older than us. There's mentorship opportunities. So there's a mentor-mentee. There's TAing, as we talked about, and other opportunities between the cohorts. I saw a question about vet school. I don't know if Ashley has answered that in the chat, but
yeah,
I will throw it over to you.
I was going to say, I believe the student asked about how the ILS requirements match up with the prereqs for vet school. The same question was asked about engineering. I don't think we have any bio-Es, but so I'll throw in really quick that there is a pre-med route within bioengineering where our curriculum matches up quite nicely. There's a few oddities, so there's a few classes that engineers have that don't match up with us, but for the most part, it actually matches up pretty nicely. And so I will toss this over to Ashley to talk about the pre-vet requirements as someone entering vet school.
Yep, sorry, I missed that in the long stream of messages that were being sent. So I think it does line up pretty well. The genetics, we are required to take genetics as animal science students. In that requirement, you don't have to take through the animal science program. It can be fulfilled through this honors program. And the other two classes, I think they're not required, 207 and cell bio, but they definitely were very helpful for me, and a lot of vet schools do require cell bio. So, and even if they're like not a requirement, it will definitely put you an edge up over your classmates for taking them.
So Georgia, I think I answered your question about bioengineering. Yes, they do fulfill some of the bioengineering requirements, but engineering is a fairly credit-heavy program, so that you still have a fair amount of other courses. And there's some very engineering unique courses that our students have to take if you're in engineering, and that is getting into the weeds to go into all those details. The short answer is yes. There's 207 doesn't count for the engineering major, but the others mostly do, especially for the pre-med track.
Yes, favorite or best,
yeah.
Sorry, what would you say the top 3 greatest benefits? And I would say they are research, academics, and community. Yeah, I'm getting thumbs up, and that kind of ties into the next question. But first of all, community, I think just having peers, and I haven't seen the other 4 panelists in a while, but just being able to acknowledge each other. We've been chatting throughout, so just that community is always there. Academics, it is, yes, they're tough classes, but they prepare you well for upper level classes. And the research is definitely a requirement for most grad schools, and just having a network of either upperclassmen who can connect you to potential research mentors, to Dr. Kramer, who's really great at it as well. So all that together really makes ILS stand out. I don't know, Josh, I know you do a lot of research, if you want to talk about research specifically.
Yeah, so I got involved in research pretty early, like unusually early, just because I knew I wanted to go into research as a career. So I got involved my first spring at the university. I wouldn't recommend doing that if you're not like actually interested in doing research. If you're like still curious and trying to figure it out, take the time to get to know the university better and take some classes to like explore your interests a little bit more before making that sort of time commitment. I know a lot of people wait until the summer after their first or second year at ILS to actually do the research requirement. But I started an on-campus lab my first year, and I've really enjoyed it. I'm still there. It's given me great experience now that I'm applying to graduate school. I've like learned a lot from everybody that I've met there. I 100% recommend it. With the research requirement more broadly, I think it's really important, even if you're not sure whether or not you want to go into research, or if you think that you want to go into medicine or veterinary school or dental school, whatever, the research requirement makes you like more confident of that decision. Like for me, it reaffirmed that graduate school was a good choice for me and that I wanted to do research. And then I know for friends who didn't really enjoy it that much, they're like, I don't want to do a career. I know this makes me feel more confident about going to medical school or going to vet school. And so definitely, even if you're not interested in research as a career, or if you are, it's still a great opportunity to just learn more about yourself and what sort of things you're looking for in your future.
I think I can also speak on that because I definitely was not the hugest fan of research, but the ILS research experience requirement kind of gives you some flexibility. So I'm really interested in psychology, and I was able to work in an on-campus research lab and earn my research requirement there. And I spent time researching unethical behavior based on monetary incentives and time incentives. And I was still able to complete my full ILS portfolio and get that experience. So you definitely have a little bit of wiggle room there, and you have options based on what you're interested in.
Okay, I'm going to jump in because we're getting a bunch of questions about AP Bio and transfer credit and how this all works. So I will jump in as administrator. So one of the questions is, what happens if you do not get an AP Bio? So you take your AP Bio test and you do not get a 4 or 5. What happens? We still like you. You still get to stay in the honors college. We're going to find you a program that you are going to be a better match into. If you're still interested in ILS after about a semester and a half, you can then apply to transfer into ILS as a sophomore admit. We've been doing this for years. So, you know, kind of keep that in mind. But you are still in the honors college. That does not go away. We will, however, find you a place because we cannot put you into a 3rd semester biology course until you have the credit for the first 2. So that's the tricky part. But don't worry, if you're still interested, you can go through the sophomore admission process. The next question was about transfer credit from other places such as community college. So we do accept transfer credit. You can look this up in our transfer database. I think Jenny typed that into the chat a little while ago. But the tricky part is you've got 2 semesters of biology that's covered by the AP Bio score, so BSCI 160 and 170. And if you've not had any AP or any dual enrollment by the end of your senior year, it's kind of tricky to pick up 2 semesters in the summer before coming in. So my recommendation is, if you haven't taken AP Bio, if you have not taken any dual enrollment and you are still interested in ILS, come to Maryland, do well in your first semester and second, well, at least your first semester bio courses. Definitely keep doing well in your second, but go ahead and apply to transfer in as a sophomore admit, and you can come in your sophomore year. So don't worry, it's not the end of the world. But trying to put yourself in a position where you have to get 2 semesters of bio in one summer just doesn't usually work very well for most students, and is a bit more stress than I think most people need. So don't worry, we will get you placed in a good LLP that's going to be a match to your interests. And if you're still interested, you can transfer in as a sophomore. Okay, more questions coming in.
Yeah,
oh, go ahead, Sydney.
I was going to say, I see a question from Tim in the chat about like researching off campus. And yeah, I did that. My summer after my freshman year, or in between my freshman and sophomore years, I did my research internship at Emory University School of Medicine down in Atlanta. And it was in a cell culture lab. So, you know, very basic science, but I really did love the experience. And I chose to do that because I didn't go away for college. So I'm from Maryland, I go to Maryland, love it here, but I also wanted to have an experience, you know, away and to just kind of do something else. So I got to live in Atlanta for free and actually get paid to like do my research. So it was a, you know, great little situation there. But yeah, you don't have to complete your requirement on campus. It can be pretty much anywhere. They're very flexible with meeting you with what you want to do and accommodating that.
Yeah. To just add, we've had students complete their internships in foreign countries. So if they are fluent in another language and have opportunities. So the one I'm thinking about was actually in Poland, working with coma patients. So she spoke Polish, and so she was able to do an internship abroad. We've had people do that in France and other places as well. So you are not even limited to the United States. And for those of us, or for those students who are out of state, we encourage you, you can also to also find internship opportunities, especially during the summer, if that's what you're interested in, around your hometown, if that is out of state. So that is fine as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say what Josh just chatted is that if you're taking AP Bio right now, I was in that position. I took it senior year and I applied for ILS as my put that down as my preference before having my AP score. So yes, it was stressful. I empathize, but know that you are not alone, and that you were accepted into the Honors College because of your stellar performance academically and holistically, and so I'm sure you will all do well. And as Dr. Kramer mentioned, that if it doesn't happen the first time around, there are ways to then join ILS later on. I don't know if there's other questions that haven't been answered yet. Mental health and community. I don't know, Sydney, I know you're HLC 100, so I know this is your wheelhouse.
Yes. Sabrina, she is kind of our overseer of HLC 100, and she always comes in and does like a wonderful presentation on like mental health and wellness in your 100 class, which is a required course that you have to take for ILS in your fall semester, your freshman year. And so wellness and mental health is very much so emphasized throughout your time at ILS. You can always talk to any of the administration if you're going through anything, or even if you don't want to talk to administration, they'll always feel free to put you in contact with the counseling center, or other like peer resources that we have here on campus. And I'm a section leader I was in the fall. And so I've had students who reached out to me who are going through something, and I've, put them in contact with the appropriate people. So you're definitely, welcome to share that experience with us. And we are very receptive to mental health concerns and really want to support you in this community for sure.
And I'll just add that, we talked about this one class that really probably emphasizes it, but that's not where it ends. And that mental health and just in general support lasts not just during the first 2 years, but all 4 years that you're in college. You get to know the advisors or the directors really, really well. They have an open door policy. In fact, in normal time, their office is in your dorm. You don't even have to put on shoes. Like, you just go down. I mean, I would recommend shoes, but you don't have to. And you just come into their office, and if they're there, they're more than happy to talk to you about whatever is on your mind. And so that's just the type of community and the type of support that I think ILS, but also most honors colleges provide. Foster a sense of community within a virtual environment. I don't know, Dr. Kramer, if you want to talk about what you've been up to this year.
Okay, so I can talk about that, but I did want to give a shout out to Zaria, who is co-started her own group. So Lean On Me College Park, who is going to be doing a presentation for the ILS seminar coming up in just what, a week and a half, something like that?
In about 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to give you a shout out if you want to talk about that for a second, and then I will
Thank
address
you.
how are we doing this during COVID.
Yeah, so I'm in a new org at UMD called Lean On Me, and we are an anonymous and free non-crisis text line. So pretty much we're just there for students to text in anonymously. Maybe if you are feeling really stressed about academics, if you got into an argument with a friend, and you need someone to talk to. So our goal is to make mental health resources more accessible and also to advocate for mental health. And since I'm in ILS, I thought, what's better than doing a joint event? So we're doing a nice little workshop that's a co-hosted event with ILS and Lean On Me.
Yay! Thank you, Zaria. And I just want to throw out there that there is this myth of the competitive pre-med. And so my wonderful, lovely husband went to Hopkins. We had some very different experiences. And then there's this myth of everyone being cutthroat and it's horrible. No, that is not how med school admissions work. Your success does not mean someone else's failure. Your success is based on your work. And so we work really hard in our classes and our community to promote the idea that your success is your success and we should all be helping each other. And that's how it should be working. So I can pontificate on this, but I don't think that's the purpose of this entire session. But I just want to point that out. Also for Josh and Ashley, we are not just pre-meds. They're grad school and vet school. So we have people going on to a variety of different career paths. And we love all of them and all of our students. So the question is, how are we doing in COVID? So I'm gonna honestly say this is not easy for anyone. We are all trying our best. So we have a required peer mentoring program. So we found that our ILS students who were struggling the most academically were the ones who did not choose to enroll in our peer mentor program. So after that, it is mandatory peer mentoring program. So you will be assigned a peer mentor during the summer. We try to match people up generally based on majors. And so we've been working with peer mentors. We've been trying different wellness events and outreach events as well. So we normally do our challenge course through the rec center where all of our first year students come together for a morning or an afternoon. And it is challenge by choice. Don't worry, you do not have to climb up tall things. But it's a way for the students to get to know each other and to bond together. We were not able to do this last fall. So we worked with the rec center and instead offered essentially escape rooms, online escape rooms facilitated by the rec center staff to help our students get to know each other. We are still working on events, including the one that Zaria mentioned. So my students don't know this because I haven't publicized it yet, but we have an alumni event coming up where we're bringing in our alumni from med school and grad school to talk about how things are going. We also try to bring in outside speakers. And we have 2 of our students who are presenting their research and are going to be talking about what it was like to do research on campus and how they found their internships, and also practice giving a professional presentation. So that's going to be coming up as well. So we do have a variety of events. During COVID times, they tend to be in person. So the corn mazing is very popular in the fall. David is still trying to get us to do the aquarium again. It's a little tricky because it's a little pricey. And then we have a bi-yearly field trip up to the University of Maryland School of Medicine to do a visit with the School of Medicine. So we do have a variety of in-person events. We've tried to convert this as much as possible to online, and we've been relying very heavily on our peer mentoring program. And all first-year students have required first-year advising with an ILS staff member. This is in addition to your normal academic advisor. And so this is, with ILS, we like to check in to see about how you are doing personally, your mental well-being, how things are working out with your roommate, if you have a roommate, how are things at home, if you're at home, and how things are doing. So these are kind of the things that we've been leaning into with the online environment. But I will say it is not easy on anyone. This has been a rough year, I think, for everyone. But we are all doing the best we can.
There's a few questions about majors and ILS, and then just honors college in general. It is personal preference. And honestly, you know, having gone through it, I think the Honors College is there to supplement your education. So if you want to be a physics major, right, that doesn't mean you can't be in ILS. That doesn't mean you can't be in Honors Humanities. You supplement your education in however you want. If you're willing to go kind of try new things, more power to you. I think most of us usually kind of stick to what we know. And so that is why there's so much overlap with our academic majors being biochemistry, engineering with ILS. But I know there was a history major in ILS. A few years back, there was a theater major, I think. You know, it is not major specific and all are welcome.
Yeah, I will throw out there though that our curriculum matches up nicely with many of our biology related majors. So if you are in one of the biology related majors, which includes places like neuroscience, bi-sci, all the different bi-scis, concentrations, bioengineering, chemical engineering, biochemistry, chemistry, psych, what am I missing? Did I miss one? Okay, so all of them, it matches up nicely with your curriculum you have to take anyway. So there's very little additional courses that you would need to take that wasn't a general education requirement or a requirement for your major, so you can fulfill the ILS requirements while also fulfilling your major requirements. And between that and the transfer credit many of our students bring in, many of our students will pick up double majors, minors, dual degrees because they have extra time and space in their schedule, or will study abroad. These are all different experiences. And yes, there are CS majors in ILS. So, you know, just to kind of give you a kind of broad strokes, we do have, you know, majors in other places, but if you're in a bi-sci major, it matches up nicely. We have found that when people have chosen to go into econ, a lot of times they don't want to take genetics. And so if that is you and you get into ILS and you decide you don't ever want to take another bio class again, don't worry, we will work with you to get you into a program that are going to match your interests, because you do have to take genetics for us.
There's a question about admissions to ILS and how we select. We just want talented, bright students with good preparation in the life sciences, with great interest in the life sciences, a commitment to living in this community, a commitment for service, liking research. We want well-rounded students, and we also want pointy students. So if you're not well-rounded, but you do have some idiosyncrasies that make you really well prepared for something like ILS, you're welcome to join ILS as well.
Okay, there's been a bunch of questions about my cell bio class, which is awesome because I love cell bio. It's awesome. So this is getting a little in the weeds, but there are H version courses, and then there are courses that are specific to each of the LLPs. So for ILS, it's HLSC courses, or Honors Life Sciences shortened. Those are specific and only for ILS students. I teach an H version, and it's complicated, but the major reason is because there's a lab and I have to work with the department offering the lab. And so I reserve spots for my ILS students, and any spots left over in my cell bio class, I will open up to any honors student who has the prerequisites who would like to take the course. But I do give people fair warning that it's more work than the non-H version, so please make sure this is actually what you want. But I talk to all of my non-ILS students when they come in, and they do just fine. So kind of give you the idea. And if you want more details about H version courses versus like HLSC, or I still say ACES has the best one with hacks. ACES hacks. Anyway, you know, I'm happy to talk more about it, but I don't want to take up the whole session because there are a lot of questions, friends. Ugh. So we've been doing a lot with the chat. Is anyone brave enough to turn your mic on and ask us a question? Because we would love to hear from you guys.
I went to the website and I found this mathematical modeling and biology class. That sounds really interesting. Have any of you taken it or teach it or?
Okay.
No.
So this is taught by Dr. John Simon. He was on sabbatical for last year. That is one of the reasons. So it's cross-listed a bunch of different ways, but Dr. Simon is a lovely instructor. Not as many of our bio students are super excited about math and it is one of several options for their second year. But if math makes you wonderful and happy, it's a good class. Although it doesn't really help our math majors, if that makes sense, because they're on a slightly different track. I did talk to Dr. Simon about it. It's one of those classes that if you've already had linear algebra, you're probably gonna be bored. If you haven't, this is probably a good place for you. So it will be offered again, but he's been on sabbatical for years, so I don't know if we listed it. Other questions, and we would love to hear from you guys. And thank you, Valentina, for being brave enough to have your camera on and ask us a question.
Hi, I had a specific question for Josh. So I remember in the beginning of the presentation, it said that you were a major in, I think, neurobiology, but also you double majored in criminology and criminal justice. I was just wondering, like, your experience with being in ILS, but then also having a double major in things that are really different.
Yeah, a lot of people in ILS have double majors, often well outside of the bio major. The trick that you have to do, I mean, often what I found, and the reason I picked up the double major was just because when I made my 4-year plan, there was a lot of blank space in like my junior and senior year. And I realized that I could still fulfill like the complete requirements of the biology major and all the ILS classes that go with it, and still have plenty of space to do a full other major. I looked through minors first because I thought that'd be easier, and I just didn't find a minor that really spoke to me as much. But it's definitely manageable. You just have to like go through, make a 4-year plan, and you can go to academic advising and they can help you. Definitely recommend that. It's been a little bit trickier if I want to take like extra electives on top of it, but a lot of majors also have their own like gen ed, so you can normally fit it in pretty well. And if not, there are always winter classes or summer classes that are like accelerated but still full credit. I've taken advantage of a few of those.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, I have a question. So if you're in ILS, I'm just curious as to how much interaction you get with like students from other honors programs, such as like Gemstone. Just curious about that.
There's plenty of overlap. I live with someone in Gemstone right now. So yeah, there's plenty of overlap. There's a lot of honors college like socials, and a lot of honors college just in general things that happen in addition to ILS specific events. So you have plenty of opportunity to meet other people in other living learning programs. And also, let's say someone is a biology major in Gemstone and you're a biology major in ILS, you still have to take classes like physics and chemistry, that you will probably meet these people in your other classes that may not necessarily be your 207 or your cell bio, because those are like more ILS specific, but there are a wide range of ways you can meet people. College is kind of like, kind of crazy how you sometimes end up meeting people. They can be in your English 101 class. There's no limit to how you meet people. And usually you do end up bonding because you're both in the honors college.
Okay, thank you.
Just to add on to what Sydney said, there are also a lot of programming that's just done by the honors program more broadly. There's like the honors coffee house that happens where people will perform, and as long as you're in the honors college, you can perform. It's a whole thing where like people sort of get together and you can watch talented people throughout the honors programs. And then I know I met a bunch of people outside of ILS in other H versions. Like I took science writing as an H version and met a bunch of people in Gemstone in particular, as well as people that I knew through ILS. So there are lots of opportunities beyond like people that are in the same major as you.
I have a question about the classroom experience. So what are the differences in the classroom experience within the ILS sort of honors college and like the regular gen ed classes? Like what are the defining characteristics that makes an ILS class an ILS class rather than having just like a regular honors gen ed class?
I'll try to take this one, but in ILS, there's a bigger emphasis on this thing called active learning. It is the new fad, but it is also really, really, really kind of effective way to learn and to teach and to study. So that is more of not just generic memorization and multiple choice questions. That is much more free response. The homeworks are often kind of group assignments where we are given tough problems and we have to work through it together collaboratively. And so it's not necessarily flipped classroom, but it's a lot more activity based instead of just lecture based. Lecture based is usually what you find in typical math, chem, biology classes. And that is something that's unique about ILS in terms of STEM coursework.
Thank you so much, guys. So I know everyone has some great questions to ask, but we do have to kind of wrap this up. It is 8 p.m. We want to respect everyone's time tonight. So I'll turn it back over one more time. Sabrina, Najib, did you want to say anything closing before we end?
I'd just like to thank everyone for joining us tonight, and we look forward to seeing you, preferring us at ILS. And please go to our website for FAQs if you have any more, or contact us. Sabrina?
Just going to echo that and say we love your questions. Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you to our current ILS students for coming and answering questions. I will say if things come up, just like Najib said, feel free to email us ils-honors@umd.edu. And if it is a student-specific question, we will get you in touch with a student. If it's an administrative question, we'll be happy to answer that for you. Thank you all. And I will say, congratulations on being invited to the Honors College. Wish you lots of luck at the end of your senior year. I know it is super crazy right now, but as a virologist, I will say it's going to get better. And I am excited about what our fall is going to look like. So thank you all for coming, and we are happy to answer additional questions if you have them. Just reach out and contact us. So thank you, and thanks everyone.